Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live, talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynn@pghcitypaper.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Hello and a happy Monday to you. I wish it upon you. It is the 22nd of May, 2017. Am I not in the shot?
No, you're in it. It's just I'm fixing it
okay.
to make it more perfect.
Okay.
We're good.
Yeah. So, the problem with Mondays is 2.5 days worth of news has built up, and it's just Monday to Tuesday is usually a tough thing to do, but this is, and given that the president is on his first foreign trip, the stuff that we have to talk about is relatively endless. By the way, this just in, General Flynn, ladies and gentlemen, will be pleading the Fifth. He has refused the subpoena of his documents by the, Senate Intelligence Committee, and he will plead the Fifth Amendment, meaning we ain't going to hear anything out of him for a while. So, but back to the president. I have to tell you, I did, despite my desire to turn away, I did watch his speech in Saudi Arabia, and it's just a joke. It bore no resemblance whatsoever to anything he had said while running as a candidate. Absolutely nothing. So I guess, one of the things he's telling politicians by his example, if you want to be president, what you do is you run for office and you say what you got to say to get elected, and then you get in and do whatever you friggin' want. So, and his relatively clueless supporters just, again, continue not to hear or acknowledge that he's throwing them under the bus. It's mind-boggling. 3 things hit me from watching some of the coverage that I haven't heard anybody talk about them. Not that people haven't, but I haven't heard it. And I need to talk about 3 things. I wrote a note to myself and mailed it here. First of all, this thing that's the picture that's gone viral, the picture of him, Trump, and the King Salman of Saudi Arabia and the Egyptian president al-Sisi, all with their hands on this glowing orb, which is shining light up into their faces, and it's just the eeriest, creepiest photo imaginable. And on the internet, the memes, it's become a meme, and people are going nuts. Anyway, that's not what I want to talk about. What that orb was, or whatever the hell those guys were doing there, was essentially opening up a new center. This is what I want to talk about. The glowing orb was at the newly opened Global Center for Combating Extremist Ideology, right? Global Center for Combating Extremist Ideology, which ironically is in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. From whence most of the extremist Muslim ideology has, in fact, emanated. The Saudis, first of all, were the people who hit us on 9/11 were almost all Saudis. Saudi Arabia has funded these madrasas, however it's pronounced, all over the world that teach the Wahhabism. which is fundamentalist Islam, to empty vessels pour their poison into the heads of children all over the world. There is little doubt that Saudi Arabia's extreme kind of Islam, Osama bin fucking Laden, ladies and gentlemen. Saudi. And the Global Center for Combating Extremist Ideology, which the president helped open, is in Saudi Arabia, of course. You'd be hard-pressed to find many nations more extreme in their ideology than Saudi Arabia. Okay, I just wanted to say that. Nobody seemed to suggest that it was laughable that this center for combating extremist ideology was in a place that is itself the very epitome of extremist ideology. That's number one. Number two, I couldn't believe this when I saw it. I mean, it really confused me. Big headline: Saudi Arabia pledges $20 billion to an American private investment firm for building infrastructure in America. I mean, the first thing I thought of is WTF. Since when does the richest nation on earth, that would be us, require $20 billion from the Saudis funneled through a private investment firm to build our bridges, to repair our roads, our dams? Isn't that something our government is supposed to do? Huh? Help me here. I mean, my memory of being an American is that Americans often take our money. I mean, our government takes our money and we send it to third world countries to help them build their infrastructure. It's like China's doing a lot of that around the world, especially in Africa. It gives you a certain amount of influence in the country, a measure of gratitude from the folks. Since when do we build infrastructure with Saudi dollars funneled through an investment company which, you will not be surprised to hear, was founded and now run by one of Donald Trump's billionaire buddies? So our president goes over there and secures a $20 billion check for one of his buddies, which I guess will be invested in infrastructure projects here. I'm sorry, but public money used to build our infrastructure. It's one of the things government does. From the time that Dwight Eisenhower built, through federal funding, the interstate highway system. I was blown away by this. 20 billion Saudi dollars coming to an investment firm, the Blackstone Group, pals of the president, that will invest in infrastructure. All right, I'm just throwing it out there, but there's something wholly un-American about that. Bang. Just, we need help from the Saudis building our infrastructure? Shame on us. Okay, that was number 2. Number 3 is while the Saudis were handing out money, they dropped a little into Ivanka's purse. The Saudis and the United Arab Emirates gave $100 million to the woman, and this is so bad, the Woman Entrepreneurs Fund, which Ivanka says she's creating. It doesn't exist yet. So Ivanka opened her purse and, whoa, 100 mil from the Saudis. But that's not even what I want to zero in on here. The Saudis? The UAE? Helping to fund a woman entrepreneur fund? Excuse me, while I either laugh or cry. I'm not sure which one. If you're a woman in Saudi Arabia, you can't leave your own house unless a male member of the family gives you permission. You cannot walk down the street. You can't do a damn thing unless a male member, it can be a son, allowing his mother to go out to lunch. And of course, she can't get in the car and drive it because women are not allowed to drive. Women are not allowed to show their faces. Women are not allowed anything. And if all of the pictures you saw from this weekend in Saudi Arabia, did you see a woman other than Melania and Ivanka? Did you see a woman? Women are kept shackled, hidden, no power at all. And Ivanka takes 100 mil from the Saudis for woman entrepreneurs. Your head explodes. Your head explodes. All right. So let's talk about 2 animal stories just to lighten things up. Did you hear the one about the big game hunter? Huh? Oh, this is great. Veteran big game hunter, South African guy. He's killed more magnificent animals than you can shake a stick at. And he made a lot of money. Come on, bring it up. Running safaris for people like our president's 2 revolting sons who wanted to come over to Africa and get the thrill of killing some magnificent animal. So that's what this guy did for a living, and obviously killed a lot of them himself. His name is Thunius Botha. And so he was doing what he always does just the other day, this weekend, and he led a group of hunters. They were in Zimbabwe. And they came upon a herd of elephants. Yee-haw! 3 of the female elephants, these were all this is a breeding herd. 3 of the pregnant elephants charged the group. And he opened fire. But he didn't see that 4th elephant coming at him from his left, who rammed him and then lifted him up with her trunk, upon which one of his fellow hunters fired a shot at that courageous female elephant, and she went down on top of him, crushed him to death. So he died, crushed by the elephant, died with her blood drowning him, I hope. So there you have it. That's one good news story. That's one for the elephants. God bless them. And the other story, I'm sure you saw, right? Because it's amazing. Bunch of tourists somewhere in the Canadian West Coast, Vancouver-ish, and sea lions around, and they're throwing food to the sea lions, and one big sea lion comes sort of close, and they're all hooting and hollering and stuff. And then a little girl, I don't know how little, she looks like she's about 9, 10. She sits down on the whatever is keeping the land from the sea at that point. She sits down on that little wall, that ledge, with her back to the sea. And that sea lion, damn, if he didn't come out of the water like whoosh, grab her by her little white dress and take her into the water with him. She was there 1 minute and she was gone the next. Really, it was startling. Because you don't think a sea lion is attacking. People have since said, since the people there were throwing food, and the little girl's white dress might have looked like some of the food that they'd been throwing, he just went for it. Some brave bystander jumped right in and got the girl, and she was safe. But here again, human beings behaving stupidly around wildlife. That sea lion is a wild animal. It's not like the sea lions at SeaWorld, okay? It's not acclimated to do little tricks. It's a wild animal. Don't feed the animals, okay? Really. And show them some measure of respect. Lynn, Saudi, not same as UAE. I know that. When did I say they were? I said Saudi and the UAE, United Arab Emirates. They both chipped in the $100 million that went to Ivanka. And the UAE is not exactly a woman's paradise either, okay? Milton says, Lynn, it might the Saudi money be already earmarked for Trump's southern border wall? Hey, if they call that infrastructure, I don't know. That would allow him to do an end around Congress's refusal to fund it. Maybe. But it just stinks to high heaven. I mean, all of it just stinks. So if my head's exploding, I can only imagine what Robert Mueller's head is doing as he immerses himself in the collusion between the Trump administration and the Russians, and how that he starts pulling on a thread here or a thread there or a thread over here, and that poor man is going to be drowning in more corruption and probably financial malpractice and all kinds of things. I think a whole bunch of them will end up going down because at some point he's going to pull a thread and end up somewhere in a Trump business deal with somebody, and it'll prove to be breaking laws left and right. I mean, he's a con artist. He's a grifter. And now he's got a special counsel on his tail. This ain't going to end well for him. Allison says, all of these investigations, if they lead to conviction, Trump will pardon them. Oh, no. The only person in danger is Manafort because he's being looked at by the state. Trump can only pardon federal convictions. Pence, same book as Trump, different cover. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, if he were to pardon a bunch of people who are convicted of colluding with the Russians as they subvert our election, I would think that even the Republicans, enough of them, would say, we can't, we just can't. And so impeachment. And then after impeachment, of course, Pence. And as you say, same book, different cover. I don't know. Hey, man, I tell you, our fellow citizens did a job. They did a job electing this guy. And the ramifications, the repercussions, the consequences are mind-boggling. We're just starting. We're just starting to see the damage. Allison says the silver lining, if Clinton had won, well, why even... Allison, I don't even want to... If Clinton, she didn't win. I'll continue anyway. If Clinton had won, Trump would be free to continue campaigning and attacking Clinton for everything she was trying to do. If we know that hate crimes have increased, think how much worse it would be if he could rabble-rouse without any constraint. Hopefully he will be diminished and the Republicans will be shown for the ineffectual beasts that they are, and maybe the country can get back on track. I want to believe our country can survive him, although it will take years to undo the damage he has caused. But I think he would be more dangerous out of office. Well, he's going to be out of office one way or the other at some point, and he'll have grown so in need of the level of attention that I think you're right. He won't exactly go quietly off into the sunset. No, we're stuck with him until the day he just implodes or spontaneously combusts. Oh, dear. And then get this. Oh, my God. I couldn't believe it. So he's over there with most of his cabinet and his, I believe, Secretary of Commerce, because after all, that's what this business was all about. Never mind Muslims. Never mind Muslims. There's money to be made. Those Saudis are rich as holy heck. So, Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross, ladies and gentlemen, he's already back. He they did the money stuff. And so he came back to the U.S. and he was being interviewed. And listen to what he said. He had a hell of a time, by the way. He said, I think the other thing that was fascinating to me, there was not a single hint of a protester anywhere there during the whole time we were there. Not one guy with a bad placard. Instead, and the guy who's interviewing says, but Secretary, that may be, but not necessarily because they don't have those feelings there, but because they're controlled. People, they aren't allowed to express their feelings as we do here. And then our Commerce Secretary says, yeah, in theory, that could be true. Jesus H. I'm sorry. In theory, that could be true, said the Commerce Secretary of the United States of America about the Saudis. Jesus God. But then he goes on. In theory, that could be true, but boy, there was certainly no sign of it. There was not a single effort at any incursion. Doesn't even make sense. There wasn't anything. The mood was a genuinely good mood. And at the end of the trip, as I was getting back on the plane, the security guards who'd been helping us over the weekend all wanted to pose for a photo op. And they gave me 2 gigantic bushels of dates. A very genuine gesture. It really touched me. What? Is he stupid? Or is he naive? Is he that out of touch with why he encounters protesters in the United States of America and does not in Saudi Arabia? And he liked it better in Saudi Arabia. This is our government now. Sickening. Dave's on the line, I hope. Dave, hi. Is he that?
Hello, Lynn.
Hi,
How are you
Dave.
today?
I'm just blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, I can tell.
Although that Pens game was
Hang
something.
Hey, that was a wonderful game. I love it. You know what? Never doubt the damn Pens. I should have learned my lesson at Game 6 against the Cats. Never doubt them. When we got beat up there the other day, a couple days ago, and they made us look stupid, I thought, for crying out loud. Then we came back and won Game 4, and we just crushed them yesterday.
Yeah, but that might have been a mistake. I mean, just crushing them like that. They'll come back because they have pride and they're a good team. I think we'll go to a game.
Yeah, but we're starting to play the way we're supposed to
I
play,
know.
though.
Okay, well, I still think we'll go to a Game 7. And anyway.
Well, then we could probably win it at home. You don't blame the bull for destroying the China shop. You blame the people who opened the door and let the bull in.
Yeah.
So that's my whole thing with Trump. Of course we knew you knew what was going to happen if you elected him, and they went and elected him anyways. So I blame the damn voters, not Trump. As far as bringing in outside money to rebuild our infrastructure, he said he was going to do this. This is how you can, replace bridges and highways and all the infrastructure without raising taxes or adding to the deficit. The thing is, what it does is now you've got, instead of the Liberty Bridge, you're going to have the Comcast Bridge. And if they want to, they could put a toll at the beginning of it because they got to make their money back. They don't do this stuff out of just sheer benevolence.
Oh, no. No, there's obviously money. It's all these people know or respect.
That's right. And so, Interstate 79 is going to be the Saudi Arabian some conglomerate toll road, and
That's it.
That's the way it's going to be.
That's it.
But he likes money, and so, sure, why not? What the hell?
Unbelievable.
There's something else. I can't remember what it was. Who the hell knows? Once the only thing the Republicans are waiting for, they just want to get the tax cuts and get rid of Obamacare. And once that's done, then, especially if it starts dragging on their numbers, then they're going to get rid of Trump. But my question is, they could do all that with Pence. So why are they waiting?
Yeah, I don't get it either. You're right. And they could do it more quickly. Yeah.
Yeah, and with a lot less peripheral damage.
That's right. Yeah, because they're still worried. They're still worried about their base turning on them for getting rid of their hero, Donald Trump.
Man, those people are insane, aren't they?
Yeah, they're scary.
What the hell is wrong with those people?
I don't know. They must have flunked civics. I don't know.
All right, well, let's see what Mueller finds. He's going to find something. something. Good God, and he doesn't just have to keep himself restricted to.
No. This is one of those things that's going to end up just one thread is going to lead to something else, and that's why I'm saying it'll get Trump will end up getting tangled up. Kushner will get tangled up. They'll all get tangled. They'll all go down.
Because they said that there's a high-level White House official, which is right now in some serious, serious trouble, and that's Kushner. I'll bet you $10.
I think a lot of people are thinking it's Kushner.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, but he was at the Western Wall today, so God's on his side. Bye.
Well, bye.
We've got Christina on the line. Hi, Christina.
How are you, Lynn?
Hi.
I'm really grateful you're talking about this Saudi trip. Having spent 2.5 years living there rather recently, this fascinated me that he would choose to go there first out of the country visit.
Mm-hmm.
And it really concerned me, as everything he does concerns me. But in my perspective of it was knowing that the Arab culture is one of being a host and being a very good host.
Right.
And Saudi Arabia can put on this kind of show that I thought would really appeal to Trump.
Oh, yeah.
Big palaces.
The
gold,
opulence. Oh, my God, yes.
Absolutely.
Oh.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so in listening to his speech, I listened to it live too. That's what I found most annoying. It was obvious, and then reports have come since then, that's what people felt there. They felt the being fed it was really great and were surprised by it and enjoyed it, and that is really concerning to me. This is a country that does not invest in its infrastructure. People see pictures inside of palaces and think, wow, this is Saudi Arabia. And that's not the reality. The reality is the road system is bad. The school system is non-existent publicly, except maybe for the universities that are there. There are no public hospitals. I mean, it is not Dubai. It is not the Emirates. They have not invested in their infrastructure to the point that when you drive in to the eastern provinces from Bahrain, you drive into this area where you would think, oh, here you put on the big show. You drive into this area of incomplete malls, abandoned apartment building construction. They were hit very badly by the recession in 2008 and 2009.
Right.
And it's not been restarted. And their infrastructure is very poor. So to go over there and make a deal of $110 billion just on warfare, just on defense, is incredibly frightening and awful. And then to say in his speech, I'm not here to lecture you on how to live your life.
Right.
When you then ignore the separation there, it was horrible.
Yep.
Horrible to listen to and realize that this is what our president has chosen to do on his first trip out.
So you think the Saudis were pretty dang happy about this whole thing?
Absolutely, and their leader, even when Salman became the new king, there were a lot of rumors that this is a man who, at his age, is already in dementia, and so they appoint the crown prince, head of Aramco, head of the military.
Right.
He's initiated this new economic forecast and plan. Interesting to see what happens with that. But to put into the hands of a 31-year-old this kind of power is horribly frightening. And yet we're mirroring that here with Jared Kushner.
That's right.
And,
Ivanka.
It's frightening.
It is.
I
Well,
don't want to sound overly, and people should be aware. Like here in Pittsburgh, I just met another woman. I couldn't believe it on a Saturday, who's from, Kobar, from the city where I was living. I meet more Saudis. I've met more Saudis here in Pittsburgh than I did in Saudi Arabia because they're very private people, And we have a lot of Saudis living here, and they're kind, and they're warm, and they're just lovely, lovely people, as anytime you meet private people. But the policies of their government. It's a dictatorship. They have spent money on propaganda of the most conservative form of Islam, and it's frightening. And my Arab friends that I got to know and dearly love, same thing. Like, this isn't Islam. This isn't Islam. This is
No,
Islam.
but with their oil money, they have spread their kind of Wahhabism all over the world, and it breeds extremism.
Absolutely, it absolutely has, and to now hitch our political step forward with this under this president in particular, I think is very frightening. It's whatever.
Well, thanks for your
But again,
yeah. Thanks for all that information from somebody who's been on the boots on the ground, as they say. Jesus, as a woman,
it's a closed society. You can't go there. You can't visit there. You can only be admitted if you're working there, and we were for a very large American company. A lot of Americans are there, and there are Americans who've lived there for 20, 30 years on the compounds there. Saudi Arabia, has been host to lots of Westerners, and I miss my time there. I miss those things that were detriments. Weirdly made it possible to become even more intimately close with your friends and your neighbors that you met there, and I do miss that.
Okay.
But it is not Dubai. It is not.
No. Okay. That's interesting. I did not know that.
Schools.
I did not know that.
It is a very different reality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can cross the causeway into Bahrain and immediately see the difference between a complete dictatorship with no interest in education and infrastructure and one that has some. And this is a very divided country, very divided between Sunnis and Shia who must live in their own separate areas and towns also. It's fascinating. And I learned a lot about American democracy living there.
Yeah, I bet. Hey, thank you so much. Appreciate the call.
Thank you, Lynn.
Okay.
Sure.
Bye. Okay, we got Joe on the line. Joe, hi.
Hi, Lynn.
Hi.
Hi. Hey, a lot of Americans, you won't hear people say this, but I say raise taxes. I say raise the payroll tax to make Social Security and Medicare solvent. And you want nice roads, you got to pay for them. It's just like our school out here wants a new football field. It's going to cost $2.5 million. I don't know what the hell they're building. What are you going to do? You're going to have to pay more money. If you want things, you're going to have to pay for it. You can't keep tax cutting. Every time a president gets in, you get a tax cut. You'll get more out of a tax increase than a tax cut. It's just like burning money, I think.
I don't disagree with you at all, obviously. But there are a lot of people who think you... Go
ahead.
A lot of people have been brainwashed now to think that you can just keep cutting taxes and still have everything you want and more. I don't even... It's hardly... You don't have to be a rocket scientist to understand that the government has some money. They get it from taxation. They don't get it from anywhere else. Although now apparently we get it from the Saudis. They get it from taxation. And it's how you build everything you need to build to provide for the country. And now we have a whole bunch of Americans who think we're supposed to outsource all of that governmental responsibility to the private sector, who will then turn around and charge us for driving on the roads that used to be public.
Yeah, now's the time not to cut taxes. We can't afford that anymore.
Yeah, I hear you.
The other way.
Okay.
It's a shame.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. Speaking of roads, the New York Times has a piece on Pittsburgh and Uber today, the front page of their business section. And the headline is "Soured on Uber," and talks about how Pittsburgh is feeling had by its relationship with Uber. And they interview a friend of mine, Tim Smith, who's a pastor in Hazelwood and a community activist there, saying that, they put that big they developed that track in Hazelwood on the flats where steel mills had been, and they promised there'd be jobs, and unsurprisingly, there were none. Zero. Tim Smith is still working on getting Uber to do that, but now we're looking at Ford, which is investing $1 billion in a Pittsburgh-based driverless technology company called Argo A1. So we're still the place where everybody seems to be congregating for this driverless technology, but Uber, Peduto is pissed at them. There's a general feeling in town that they really screwed us. Interesting. Okay, we've got who? Ronald? Who's on the line? Ronald. Hi, Ronald. Hi.
Heard two great quotes about our president. One was from David Brooks.
Mm-hmm.
He said, George Washington never told a lie, Richard Nixon never told the truth, and Donald Trump does not know the difference.
That's a good one. Thank you.
And Tony Schwartz, he wrote an autobiography about our president.
Yes.
He said that Donald Trump does not know right from wrong. He only knows win or lose.
That sounds about right, doesn't it? Because we've been watching him now for some time. That seems obviously right. Win or lose is how he operates. Right and wrong, doesn't have a clue. Truth or fact, doesn't have a truth or lies, doesn't have a clue. That's fascinating. Those are good quotes. Thank you for sharing them. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye. So, one of the funny things, this New York Times piece says, is that, let's see, Uber has benefited Pittsburgh in some ways. It has raised Pittsburgh's profile, and the Advanced Technology Center that Uber opened for their driverless research in 2015 has revved the former steel mill neighborhood known as the Strip District. Excuse me. The Strip District wasn't revved by Uber. Excuse me. The Strip District has been revved for a long, 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 long time. And it's been a long, 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 long time since there were any steel mills in the Strip District, if ever. So, New York Times reportage there, falling a little bit short. All right. You guys know how freaked I am about, how certain I am, and freaked. By the fact that that the human race will cyborg-ize itself. So, those of you who get the Sunday PG, did you see the big article that argues that we should actively be cyborg-izing ourselves if we want to, in any way, keep the human race alive? Obviously a different kind of human, but cyborg-ize. And there's this huge, it's written by Peter Singer, who's that bioethicist at Princeton, and who often creates a stir. And they point this out, that Elon Musk, like he doesn't have anything else to do, has founded and made himself the chief executive of something called Neuralink, Neural, Neuralink. And Neuralink is going to create implants that you put in your head that will turn your brain right into a computer. I mean, you'll be hitched into I told you this is exactly what's going on. Now we got Elon Musk actually taking steps. This would enhance our intelligence, enhance our memory. And the article quotes somebody who had said that it would be a basic Darwinian error to create machines that are smarter than us. Duh. I mean, I figured that out myself. You don't want to keep creating these machines that are smarter than we are, because they will take over. And Musk agrees with that. And he says he sees no way of actually preventing that from happening. And so the strategy that he favors to save us from being eliminated by super intelligent machines is for us to essentially, while keeping a measure of our humanity, make ourselves into state-of-the-art machines. And it's pointed out in the article that we're already putting stuff in our body. I mean, my dad had a pacemaker, one of the first pacemakers, 1,000,000 years ago. It saved his life. He lived another 40 years because of it. But I remember when he first got it, and it was then this huge thing. It was the size of a transistor radio that was implanted under his skin. And you could see the outline. He had this huge thing where you could see there was a transistor radio or something under his skin. And it freaked him out for a long time, because he felt like he was a Frankenstein. That's what he said, like Frankenstein's monster. But we get over this stuff, and little by little that transistor radio was replaced by something, this big. You couldn't see it anymore. So there's actually a company here called Grindhouse Wetware, which is already implanting bionic devices. That's what they want to do. The problem with all this is that it is against the law to do the kind of research that would have to be done. People cannot be used as guinea pigs. Animals can, but people can't. So how the hell do you get to a point where you get somebody to start sticking this stuff in their brain? And whatever, it'll happen. I'm just saying. I mean, I had it figured a long time ago. I'm just saying. People said I was nuts. Dorothea writes, I disobeyed my own rule. Uh-oh, Dorothea. Of not watching politics on the weekend. Oh, dear. I see you survived, though, or you wouldn't be able to write this. That's good. Dorothea continues, and by doing that, I found a new level of hopelessness. If you think these first 4 months of Trump have been bad, do some homework on the details of his first budget. Oh, yeah. I didn't get to that today, did I? I was going to wait till tomorrow when it'll be fleshed out a little more. But his first budget is literally going to take food out of babies' mouths. He is going after food stamps. He's going after Medicaid. He's going after the safety net. I've seen it. He's cut. Yeah, I saw. Saving that for tomorrow. Dorothy says God works in mysterious ways. The grandchildren were watching Harry Potter last night. I walked in the room just in time to hear Dumbledore say, "Dark times lie ahead of us, and there will be a time when we must choose between what is easy and what is right." I will keep those words close by me next time I feel hopeless, said Dorothea. So Dumbledore made you feel better. That's good. Jesus, God. Roger writes in yesterday's Post-Gazette a quote from our own David McCullough. How unpardonable would it be for us, with so much that we have been given, the advantages we have, all the continuing opportunities we have to enhance and increase our love of learning, to turn out to be blockheads or to raise blockheads. Well, we're finding out, aren't we? Yeah, it is unpardonable, but we obviously are well on our way, or the grifter in chief would still be doing Celebrity Apprentice, where he belonged. Interesting little tidbit, just sharing it with you, from astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson. Gives a lot of speeches, you know. He writes them longhand. I love that. He says, I collect fountain pens. If I'm giving a speech, I'll write it in ink first. If you look at memorable speeches of the past, the rhythms happen to be in 5 to 7 word pulses. Then you learn that a single dip of a quill pen got you 5 or 7 words before you had to dip it again. And Tyson, with his extraordinary brain, says, it just may be that the rhythm was shaped by how much ink could sit in the shaft of a quill pen. And as I write, I'm conscious of this. When you give a speech, you don't want your sentences to be too long. Right? You look at the great speeches, Gettysburg Address, right? 5 to 7 words, punch, punch, punch. A rhythm. I'll take his word for it. So, for those of you who do not venture into Fox World, I just want you to know, by the way, it's mind-boggling to do so. They do not in any real way cover any of the scandal that is going on, any of Mueller and Comey, except to undercut it. It's fascinating to watch it. Frightening. Fascinating. Frightening. But they've got themselves on a story now that is known to be false. This is how fake news happens. And Fox, Hannity especially. Actually, Hannity and the Russians. Jesus. Are just punching this story so if you are one of those 40% that still think Trump is hunky-dory and everything's fine, and you get your news from Fox, you think the biggest scandal in Washington, D.C. is the death by gunfire last July, almost a year ago, of a 27-year-old kid who was working for the Democratic National Committee in Washington, D.C. He was walking down the street in D.C. and he was gunned down. Murderer's never been caught. The kid's name is Seth Rich. The crazies have decided he was gunned down because he had leaked things to WikiLeaks from the DNC, and he was killed by, I guess, Hillary Clinton or someone from the DNC said to silence him. Hannity does whole shows on this. Everything he says is a lie. It's been debunked by the Washington Post, by the, well, I don't even want to get into it. I don't really want to get into it, but I'm just telling you that it sort of had died, and then the Fox News station in D.C. had a breathless report from one of their local reporters who said that the conspiracy theories you've been hearing about could be right, and that she had gotten information. And then off it went again. Within 24 hours of her report, Hannity was off and running with it, Breitbart was off and running with it, and the Russians were off and running with it. NBC News, CNN, The Washington Post jumped on it, immediately debunked every aspect of the story. It was lie, lie, lie. This poor dead kid's parents have begged Fox News to stop. It's upsetting them so much. We know who leaked the DNC. It was not this kid. And why would you kill him after it was all, I mean, it's mind-boggling. It doesn't pass any rational test but they take this stuff and they spin it for their clueless audience. So there's a whole bunch of Americans. If you bump into some, and God forbid you start talking politics, and you're saying, well, Flynn this or Comey that, and they say, what about Seth Rich? You'll know. It's their latest total fake news, made-up story. Last week, 3 episodes of Sean Hannity's show, which, by the way, is now last in the ratings at 10. He did this story. This totally manufactured, made-up story. I'm reminded of P.T. Barnum as the Ringling Brothers did their last show the other night. There's a sucker born every minute. Man, they're everywhere. Call them suckers, call them blockheads, call them whatever you want. But they will take this stuff in and hold it close. All right, you guys. Well, thanks so much for joining me, if in fact you did. And we'll be back tomorrow. My sister should be joining us, not in the flesh as she did last week, but telephonically. And we probably will get more into Trump's budget proposals that will just kill people. But they're poor people. They don't count. Bye.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.